Face the Feelings, where we're talking today about endurance. With Mike Sommer, Sarah Whalen, Sharon Froshen, and Zandra Sperling. So who am I going to ask today to introduce themselves and whatever their offering is in their business?
Must be Sharon.
Oh, okay.
Guest.
Cool. All right. So Sharon, how about you let us know about you, your coaching and spiritual business, your Facebook page, your website, whatever you'd like us to know about you.
You got it. So my name is Sharon Froshen. I am the creator and the founder of the Phoenix Reboot, which is my coaching business. And the Phoenix Reboot the name is based upon the innate human ability to reboot and to recharge and to rise out of the ashes of our former selves. I am a health and wellness coach. It's something that I love doing. It's something I've always loved doing, much more so now that I'm not getting high. You'd be amazed how much that health thing kicks in when you stop doing drugs. What I'm doing right now, I have a group that's a sister group to this group, Nourish, called Nourish Your World. And in Nourish, we deal with the body. And in Nourish Your World, we deal with what happens within the spirits, how we nourish our communities and how we nourish our world. That is where the majority of my time and attention is going now. But we also have, with you, Beth, and with Sarah, we also have a new venture starting shortly that is just being tested out now in the panels that we're doing weekly in Nourish Your World, where we basically come on live, put a bunch of topics into a random generator, and live with you on air, generate a topic and then talk about it. And that is the beginning of something that is going to be much bigger. In addition, I also am working currently with Margaret Gunderson Doxey and Karen Armstrong with the illustrious Misty Flanagan in the background as our back house girl, the woman that magically makes everything happen, on a project called The Journey Beyond Pain, where we deal with what pain really is in our life, how to embrace it, how to release it, and how to learn to see it as a friend and to assign new meaning to it so we have a different experience in the world. That is what I'm working on right now. Super duper excited about it. For those of you that do not know, I am no longer with Ecology, and the majority of my efforts are being directed specifically to Nourish Your World. And this is a place that we invite you, if you have something to teach, come teach. Come teach our members. Each one in this group teaches one. We all grow together. We all change together. And that's how we change our worlds. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to share that with you. Oh, also an ordained minister. It's the first time I get to say it on a Facebook Live.
Awesome.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys. How about you?
Oh, Beth, you're muted.
So on that very note, let's talk about endurance, the long game.
Yep.
Especially, when you're ditching the diet and you're not trying to do that. Well, I'm going to lose 10 pounds this week, or I'm going to lose, 10 pounds the next 2 weeks. You're in for a long run. I'm playing lifestyle change.
Yep.
I'm not playing, I'll just do this for 3 weeks and I'll lose this much weight. And then I go back to exactly how I was.
Exactly. For me, for endurance, is all about making manageable habits, and then starting a new one. I see a lot of people decide they're going to go on a diet, and they go out and they do exactly what you said, Beth. They go, and you know that they've done it because you can see them at the checkout stand just trying to sincerely impress the grocery clerk with all of their green vegetables and stuff as they're checking out in the grocery line, going to go home and get all healthy. And then on top of eating healthy and exercising more and doing yoga and breath, and all of a sudden we find ourselves like, I don't want to do any of this and it's too much. And it's because we set ourselves up to, you're going to do 19 new habits in 1 hour. And it just doesn't work, guys. If you want to have long-term endurance that lasts, where your diet goes from being something that you do to lose weight to the natural sustenance for that species, that lies in making manageable, small, self-compassionate
Yes.
goals that you make sure are involved and woven into your life over a 3 week period, and then start a new one, not trying to start a bunch of really difficult stuff all at once.
Yeah, so of the 97 businesses I started in January, I'm really whittling it down to just my top 3. No, seriously though, it takes on average 21 days to build a new habit, to turn it into a habit, a repetition of behavior. And yeah,
But
honestly,
it's
the only way
90 days before it becomes thoughtless, before
Right.
you're actually automatically doing it. And people are like, oh, it's 21 days to make a new habit. And hey, it's 21 days, but it's 90 days.
Yeah, and nobody can eat just cabbage for 90 days. You just can't do it. So it is about building those incremental habits along the way and building on them, stacking those habits. And then I think you only get a sense of what your endurance is by looking back at how far you've come.
Oh, totally. Because pretty soon those things that you were doing that you would chew yourself out for, you're not doing them anymore. And a few months go by and you realize it because you see somebody else that you care about doing the same thing, and it kind of hits you and you go, oh, damn, that was me a while back.
Yeah.
I have come quite a ways, let's keep going with it.
That's really important. Sorry, go ahead, Sandra.
I think too that you need to honor where you're at within your own body. As you're making changes, you've got to remember that there's other crud going on in your life. And too often we beat ourselves up when we don't meet what we perceive as being, this is the diet.
Mm.
So it's really important to remember that it's not just what's happening today or what's happened last year. It can also be something that's happened in your childhood. How was food reinforced at home?
Mm.
Take a look at the whole picture and don't beat yourself up over it. If you mess up one day, examine it.
Yeah.
Really examine it and go forward from there.
Isn't that kind of the point of the challenge that you're doing right now in February, is to really examine that and to find some gentleness for yourself where your thoughts are concerned?
Yep.
Absolutely.
I was in line today at a store here in town, and it was just I just had a weird moment this afternoon with doing some cleaning and thinking about some of my junk that I have yet to deal with in a storage unit. And so I'm standing in line, and my first thought as I'm walking towards the checkout was, oh man, I'm gonna grab a Snickers. No, and I didn't, because that's what I would do. I would just get that chocolate feel in the mouth and how good it tastes, and oh, my world is suddenly better. And then 20 minutes later, I'm chewing myself out because I ate a damn Snickers bar. Oh man. So yeah, it's really a day at a time. Even after you've been after you've established a pattern that you can stick to, it's still a day at a time.
Yeah, I'm just coming out of a decade-long battle with fibromyalgia that was debilitating and had me sidelined for years. And now I've got it cleared from my body. But guess what? My body spent 10 years being sick and sedentary. So I do not have the endurance to go out and run a marathon right now, nor is it a goal. But if it were, I would have to build up to it, right? I'd have to start small and work
You
my
need to
way
change
up.
that mentality, it should be one of your goals.
Oh.
Well, I don't want to shit all over myself, Beth.
Bethany the shooter.
Not a good idea.
Perhaps it's one of your goals, and I'll cheer you on. But, that was just for illustration. But whatever it is, having been so sedentary, I'm not going to just because I don't have fibromyalgia anymore doesn't mean I have the endurance to go and do whatever I want. I have to build up and build up. And
can I just share with you how awesome it is to hear you say that?
And it feels good to say it too.
I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have to say, just coming to grips with, just what I shared with you guys today, how for me, I haven't for the last few weeks had any of the stuff that I usually take of nutrients and psyllium and other stuff that I have been taking for a year in the hopes at that time of curing everything in my gut that resulted from celiac. And I've had 3 weeks of no gut problems. And I'm sitting here going, yes. Awesome. 3 weeks of no special nutrients, 3 weeks of eating whatever I feel like that doesn't contain gluten. But whatever I feel like, I've had fried food and not had a problem. And I'm like, oh, I had fried food. Wow. Obviously, I can't go out and abuse of that. But for me, that's healing.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, oh my goodness. I've just, I've tried different things in moderation. And it's like, okay. So at the moment, I'm like, okay, I don't have to take psyllium every single day. I don't have to take all those other things that I was piling in because they kept my gut calm and tranquil. I don't have to sit here and go, oh my goodness, I got to have rolled oats and cold water first thing in the morning because then I won't get, an upset stomach. It's done. All of that work that I've done, all this work on for a year is done. And it is simply amazing. Yeah, but it's fantastic. Endurance.
That is,
right?
That is endurance.
It's endurance.
So
yeah, even the clearing process to get the fibromyalgia out of my body. I've been working on it since September, and it's been an arduous process and not a pretty one at times. And but it's so worth it. And I've been feeling better and better day by day since the beginning of the year. And yesterday, I felt really drained, which was something that I was really familiar with, having felt that way for, every day for a decade. And just because I mentioned it to 3 amazing women in my life, and they all said, stop what you're doing and take care of yourself. And I had a mentality that I needed to push through what I was working on, because that was the only way I got through every day of my life for a decade, was just by pushing through, not even with the hope that if I rested, I would feel better tomorrow, because with fibromyalgia, that's not the way it works. So I did. I unplugged yesterday and I took a nap in the middle of the day, and today I feel great. So, thanks to the wise counsel of my divine sisters. It's like a whole new kind of endurance, though.
Yeah, but it's knowing that I rest today because then tomorrow I wake up with energy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, when you've got a cold, let yourself go to bed.
Please don't go to work.
Exactly.
Please.
Just let yourself rest. Your body is just saying, hey, I got an upgrade happening. Immune system is doing an upgrade. Could you please just close all open windows and, we'll be fine tomorrow after the upgrade has been installed.
Cool.
But we simply pop a pill and keep pushing through it. And then I don't understand why I've had a cold for 10 days.
Because you never dealt with the cold. You just dealt with the symptoms.
But let's look at it from a different
Let's do that, Sandra.
Let's look at it from the fact that we live in a society where if you're sick and you call in sick, you probably don't get paid. So what do? You go to work because that money is required for the end of the month. Trust me, I've watched nurses. I worked in the community for well over 20 years and in the hospital too, and we didn't get paid for sick days. You worked. If you were sick, you went to work because you couldn't afford to take the time off. But what did we learn? We didn't learn to listen to our bodies. We didn't learn to listen to that innate body wisdom that we have inside of us. I watched nurses going into patients who should have never, ever gone into their homes because they were so sick. But our society, our employers, the way things are managed in today's world has dictated that we no longer listen to our own innate body wisdom that we have. We know we shouldn't be doing it, but we don't have a choice.
We think we don't.
What about the endurance that we can summon up when we're going after something we really want?
Ah, yeah.
Yep.
Whole other kind of mental state and energy that we put behind that, right? So
Yeah.
Going back to Sandra's statement about work, then in a case where you're self-employed, if you need to take some time off to heal, that pressure is huge as well, because if you're
you don't work and you don't get it, you don't get paid.
No, well, and then if you're in a service industry where you have times that you have to be accountable for, mechanic shop, and you take 2 or 3 days off because you feel like a train wreck, suddenly you've got people screaming and yelling because their vehicle's not done.
Right.
And so what do? You load up on ibuprofen and Emergen-C, and you go to work.
and endure.
And you endure,
Exactly. And
unfortunately, that virus then just gets stuck in your body because, hey, you didn't actually take care of it.
Oh, it's having a party now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that one of the main underpinnings of endurance, guys, is self-compassion. It's being able to understand that I need rest. Yeah. I need to power down and I need rest. And when we are, it's actually, this fits back so nicely with the panel this morning in Nourish Your World, when we take a selfish stance, a protective stance, a stance that says that my health is important because it's my health that enables me to interact and to be of service in the world, what happens to our endurance is amazing, because suddenly we're not doing what we're doing for other people. We're doing what we're doing for us, for other people. And we become a part of that equation. And too often we leave ourselves out of that equation. It's just us doing for other people rather than us taking care of this glass so that the water overflows out of this glass into someone else's glass. We're just running around with a couple drops left in the bottom of a cup, throwing it at people. And that doesn't help anyone, and it doesn't help us.
No. Well, how many times have you made a mistake because you're so damn tired, or you're just running on empty,
Yeah.
I mean, and then it takes twice as long to get the job done because you tried to get it done on empty.
Yep.
And what you really needed was to just rest. Yeah. And I know last year, I spent a lot of time last year at 3:00 in the afternoon, lying down on the floor of my office and having a 15-minute nap of I'm exhausted and this is what I need. And I would put on theta meditation music and I'd get my 15 minutes and then I'd be back at it again. But I did that for as long as it took to get over exhausted.
Mm.
And eventually, after about 6 to 8 months, it was like, oh, I don't need my naps anymore. But I hadn't realized how empty I was.
Mm.
You know,
I get empty.
Oh,
Yeah.
We get terribly empty.
We get
And
down in the red at the bottom of the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and you're pulling up the dregs and the dirt and everything else that's lying in the bottom of that tank.
Yes.
You know, and you're pouring it out. Here, have some clean water, man.
All that sediment and filth. People are like, what the?
And then it becomes not just a physical manifestation. It becomes an emotional one, a mental one, that you just keep busting your shins on the hurdles as you're trying to get through your day.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's not endurance. That's not strength. That's not moving forward with flexibility, you know?
No. Years ago, I went back to school for a while, and I walked to class because the campus was small enough. I took a 15-minute nap at lunch every day for like 7 months.
Wow.
That was so amazing. It got to the point where I would just lay down and I would wake up after 15 minutes. And I'd walk back to class, continue with my day. I was working at night, so that definitely helped. But it just helped clear the mind, because by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was just shot.
Yeah, those mini power naps are incredible, you know, because you sleep just long enough to reset and recharge without getting into the deep sleep and getting tired.
Yep.
Never underestimate the power of a good nap.
We have many entrepreneurs out there that are in the high figures of income, and they actually do take their 15 to 20 minutes of power naps every day. And we, as the regular workers, need to take some of that from them and go, hey, you know what? Yeah. I'm bloody tired right now. I'm going to take a 15-minute power nap.
Yeah. And one of my things in my office was, hey, I have a 20 to 30 minute lunch, and, you know, I could have an hour-long lunch if I wanted to, but I'd rather have a 30-minute lunch and then have my nap later, you know, because I got to set an example. But you'll see me, I'll have my shorter lunch hour, but I'm having my nap later.
That's endurance.
Yeah, but it's knowing. I knew that at 3 o'clock I would hit that low, and it took me. I mean, like I say, once you recognize that you're not pushing through this, you're not going to the coffee pot for another coffee, you're not having an energy drink, you're not going for sugar, and suddenly it's like, I have to face now how tired I am. I got to face what my body has been telling me for years.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, so the foods that we eat, these processed foods that have tons of chemicals, tons of preservatives, diet sodas, we eat this stuff and then we go to take a power nap and we can't power down to take that nap because our body's spinning so hard and flying so high off these chemicals that the ability to relax on command is gone. So if we're looking for endurance and we're looking for the ability to take something and implement it into our life and maintain it, a lot of the responsibility for that starts in what goes from here to here. You know, in the morning when I wake up, am I having Fruit Loops and milk and a lot of sugar, or am I making better choices with my breakfast? So in the mornings, I have a whole avocado and walnuts, sprouted walnuts, because the fats, how that helps your brain throughout the day to be able to function is so important. And when we do that, then making those more in touch decisions where we're actually being responsible with our thinking capacity, that becomes more of a habit because we've powered our brain up to be present and aware.
Yeah. Cheryl Bagangan says she's in the Philippines right now, and the midday siesta has gone by the wayside for the most part. She used to so look forward to that when she was there before, because now they've become very Americanized. And so that balance is so off because naps are just underrated, you know, and you think about the Spanish culture of having that afternoon siesta.
Yep. Absolutely. There's a lot that we have lost from cultures to sly advertising and sweeping under the rug and labor laws, etc. There's so much ancient wisdom that has been lost. And the sad thing is, if these corporations were to actually invest in their workers, to actually give them the time to take a nap, actually encourage them in improving their health, the output that they would get from those employees would so far eclipse the actual money necessary to do that, that it would create an instantaneous revolution in capitalism. But we won't do that because everybody, it's the dollar, not understanding that the technology that is the human body transcends money. You don't need money for a healthy body. You just need good choices.
Sharon, I've really witnessed, and I so agree with you on this, because I worked in the community as a nurse for over 30 years. And I've witnessed it. I've watched clients who have been healthy, who have worked for a corporation, and all of a sudden their health has just declined. And it's almost like you're watching it like a slow motion waterfall going down and declining. And I've watched coworkers of mine do exactly the same thing. And I'm going, but it all boils down to the company's almighty dollar. They need us out there. They need us working. I remember working and I was on call. I did a 3 to 11 for the company. And as we did a 3 to 11, we were also on call overnight. And I had a palliative client, and he was very close to end stage. And I had set his pain pump with the hopes that it would manage him through till morning so that we could get him back into hospice. And I ended up making 5 trips in during the night to see him. And I lived 35 minutes from his house. My last trip in was at 5:30 in the morning. My next client on schedule was for 7:30 in the morning. I had called my manager, left her a message, and asked her, do you think somebody could take my 7:30 IV client so that I could start at 11 o'clock in the morning instead? The response was, no, you're scheduled to see him. Suck it up and go do it. But how, in reality, when you think about this, I maybe had how much sleep, and I'm going in to run an IV at 7:30 in the morning.
How safe is that?
Exactly my point. How safe was that?
But they do that in hospitals all the
time.
Yeah.
We do it all the time. And I think we need to take a step back, and some of it needs to come down to the workers themselves, and they need to say, hey, you know what? My body can't handle this. Write me up for it. I can't do this. I'm putting somebody else's life at risk. But what about all the guys that were on the road when I was driving in 35 minutes?
Yeah.
Fighting to go,
Well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I think about all the times that my mom as a nurse worked double shifts because somebody didn't show up for work. And then after that, you're right, she's doing a 25-minute drive home. And luckily, she only got caught twice speeding.
Oh, I was very good at talking my way out of it.
But I mean, realistically, you know, I mean, you're driving tired after that.
Sure you are.
The only 2 accidents I have had in my life, not my fault, but I did not respond in time in defensive driving, was when I was overtired. Every other time I've avoided accidents. But the 2 times that I was seriously tired, no, I didn't run a stop sign. I didn't break the law, but I got run into, and I knew both times I was past tired.
Mm.
You know, so if I had been in a completely awake state, I think the accident would have been avoided.
Would it though?
One of them definitely, without a doubt.
Okay, just asking.
The other one I'm not quite sure about because he was really a little bit of a boy racer. I'm not sure if I could have avoided him, but maybe I could have.
He sounds like me.
Well, he pulled out in traffic. The guy next to me stopped for him to allow him to go. And instead of pulling into that lane, he crossed across that lane to pull into my lane. And then he bitched at the police officer that I failed to stop to let him in when he was pulling out of a driveway.
Yeah, so not that far, but the part right up until that, definitely me. I'm a jerk on the road. Like, I'll be the first to admit it. They're 25 years in LA.
Just a comment from Little Miss 5. Apparently, she says the kids will not enjoy our videos because they're kind of boring. All we do is talk. There's no toys.
No
Oh my
toys.
goodness.
Special new toy.
We're not opening any toys for YouTube.
Mm.
And we don't do any demonstrations of how to make slime.
We just occasionally bring an animal. Oh, look.
And we don't do any emojis. So
That
apparently we are
unacceptable.
terribly boring.
Oh,
And she's disappointed.
those adults.
Oh,
I'm so sorry we disappointed her.
she's already a parent. Did you see that? I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
Damn, maybe I've said that before.
That is hilarious.
So coming back to endurance and flexibility and, you know, that stickability.
I really struggle with flexibility. I know that most of you don't know this about me, but I'm actually quite a control freak. So
I never knew that. No,
I
never.
know. So I like to have everything organized, and I like to have it do what I want it to do when I want it to do it. And then when it doesn't do that, this is not a happy woman. And I kind of just sit there, kind of like, you know, the red guy from Inside Out, the anger guy.
Yeah.
I'll just stand there with like fire for hair. Like, well, what do I do now? Can't find any, like once that's been triggered, it didn't go my way. It's like 5 minutes of
5 minutes of an opportunity to
just trying to-
practice enduring patience.
yeah, just figure out what am I supposed to do now? And I realized that, like, I see people who do habits, they teach habits as their coaching. And to a certain extent, what I've noticed in my life is that a habit can become a real crutch,
Oh, yeah.
where I develop that habit and then I don't have to think about the underlying spiritual principle or the underlying truth going on underneath that habit. And as a result, I lose that in my life.
Yeah.
And it's when you're a control freak like me, you love habits because then you feel safe and you feel like your environment is controlled, but it's not. And there's no flexibility in that. And as we know with evolution, that which adapts best lives longest.
It's a good thing that everybody does everything exactly how you like it then.
I know it. Guys, did you hear Sarah?
Oh, Oh man! Oh, okay. I'm really sorry, Sharon. I am so sorry. I'll improve. I promise.
You were absolved.
I having children really adjusted my ability to not be flexible. But now that they're all on their own, it's wearing off.
Is it?
So, yeah, so I get to go back to kind of looking for that control thing.
Ooh.
Isn't that fun?
Do you want to?
Exactly. That
Yeah,
would be the question. Do you
it's a
really want to
choice.
go back there?
Well, it's because I didn't keep the endurance in mind.
Mm.
But I tell you what, it certainly made a big difference being able to be flexible, especially with work, and just spur of the moment things. I was never really that guy, and it still ruffles my feathers a bit.
Doesn't
But,
it? It makes you feel like, oh my God.
I admit today I was very frustrated. I had a client that had said they were going to call today, and they showed up in the office.
Oh,
And
Just like that. That's what she did to him. She put her sign up.
No. Thou shalt go away.
Not in.
Leave a message at the beep.
Oh,
Oh my
Bethany.
God. Seriously, that woman has the patience of a saint. I would lose it. I am so proud of you, Bethany, the patient. So proud. And you're right, Mike. I've never had children, so I still have this wonderful little arena in which to play, in which I am still the center of my own universe.
It's so cool right there.
It's a bit of a comfort zone, I realize. So
Oh, absolutely. I think we it's not that we can be so rigid and probably wouldn't mind a little change up now and then, but we get so used to just planning ahead, because usually it's things that we haven't gotten done.
mm-hmm.
At least with me, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that Saturday afternoon, and then something else comes up, and it's like, oh man, okay, let's go. So then those things sit, and I don't know, those kind of things they kind of eat at me, and then I just get to where it's grind mode, and then just do it, versus just kind of learning to go with the flow. And okay, well, I'll do that, but I'm only going to do it for like an hour and a half, because I really have other things that I want to get done.
So you're controlling your relaxed state of flow.
Yeah.
No irony in that. I've got a scheduled relaxation flow period now. Ready, go.
Like, yes.
And
oh man.
Beth, did you have to step out to meet an unexpected client?
Oh man, no. But this morning I was pissed. I was pissed about the client showing up. One, when they said they'd call, and two, not at the time they said they'd call. They said they were going to call at 4 p.m. and they showed up at 10:15 of, well, I'm here a little bit early. And I'm like, a little bit early.
A little.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I was a tiny bit pissed.
Yeah, I would not want to do that to you.
Yeah. But it was just like, I was like, oh, just take care of it, because, I was just like, they're not gonna come back at 4 p.m. and let's just get this done with. But, it's one of those things. But yeah, my control freakness shows up in the office.
No.
Oh yeah. Just a wee bit. Yeah. Not so good for endurance. There.
No, it's not. And I love you.
Oh, and I love you. Yes. That was Andrea helping us work through some things. Whenever you get that, you go, and I love you, back to yourself.
Those thoughts
Not
that plague you and tear you down and tell you you're not good enough. Just stand, I love you. We don't fight with them. Just love them.
And we don't say, but I love you, because that seems to imply.
Yeah.
You're crap, but I love you.
Sounds very different from your crap and I love you.
Yes, there's some magic there.
Definitely.
So anyway, guys, thank you so much. We've gone over time, as we always seem to do. This month is all about strength. So obviously we're going to be talking about physical strength, but we're also going to be talking about the emotional, the mental, psychological and spiritual. And, you know, what does it take to make those lifestyle changes where you are really taking care of yourself? So final thoughts on endurance.
It's your
Yes.
responsibility.
Yeah. And set your goals and work toward them. But remember to look back and see how far you've come and celebrate your progress.
Absolutely.
You've got to think long term. It's not going to happen in a month or two. You've got to look longer.
Yeah. Anything from you, Sandra?
Just remember to love yourself as you set those goals.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. And we will see you all next week.
Bye, guys.